All right, everybody, we are live business acceleration playbook, helping you find the plays you need to win in your business. And today we have stop laughing at me, Jeff, co-host Angela Buckley from Creatively Efficient and Jeff Dwoskin from #Stampede. And I'm really proud of myself. I said his name correctly. And then we have special guest Chanel Rose. And today she's going to be talking about so many things, but I want to give a shout out first. Ray Baxter, Coach Ray Speaks, was unable to make it today. He is doing all the things on a Zoom call. Some message being said he was not going to be able to be on here. So wanted to give him a quick shout out. And Chanel, I'll have you kind of jump right in and introduce yourself to everyone. And that way they get to know how amazing you are.
Okay. This is always like my least favorite, most favorite part, because it's like, what do I tell you? So my name is Chanel Rose, and I am the owner of CR Agency. And we are a boutique business coaching firm. And we have two arms that we specialize in. So we do the for-profit side. We specialize in owners specifically. So if you need help with products, can't help you, right? But if you need help with developing yourself and making your business more efficient and focusing from a top-down methodology, I'm your girl. We do sales coaching all the time. We do new service line development. I don't do any physical product work. It's all service-based. And then I am also a nonprofit founder coach. And most of my clients come to me because they're either brand new or they have been in business and are just not turning any sort of profit and or are not raising any money. And so we help them basically rebrand. Everything from helping them express their value to actually being able to ask for money and learning how to profile potential fundraising donors. It just depends on what they need, but densely it's about rebranding and fundraising. That is what I spend every day doing. I love it. And that's the short version. I don't know how much more I need to give, but that's who I am and what I'm doing right now.
You're the guest. You can tell as much or as little as you want.
So now, where are you located?
So I am in Chicago.
Okay.
Born and raised in Chicago. I have lived all over the country, though. I've lived in Richmond, Madison, Wisconsin, Sioux City, Iowa, Carbondale, Illinois, Springfield, Illinois, all over Chicago. I feel like I'm missing something, but
you're a Midwest girl. You're like those are all my places.
Yeah, Midwest.
My mom was in Chicago, Wisconsin. Yep, all of them. It's awesome.
Yeah. So I've never done a panel style podcast before, but I am excited to learn more about you guys, and I'm just kind of tell you a little bit more about what I'm doing. So feel free to ask me anything beyond, where I'm from. I'm happy to answer.
So how do you go about identifying your clients and helping them identify their clients?
Oh, okay. So that's my favorite thing to do. I know it really is. I love finding clients. So when I first started, I'll give you a little bit of background. And Maria knows this, but I'm sure there are some folks who don't know and you guys don't know. My first business failed. I am from background a political fundraiser and campaign manager. I did that for over a decade. And so I decided to pivot with zero business acumen and 100% ego to start my own business. And as you can imagine, I failed miserably. I spent a lot of money failing. And not only did I spend a lot of money failing, I spent a lot of money arrogantly failing. So like not telling people, investing more in the things that were actually making me fail and being unwilling to acknowledge the fact that I was the problem. Okay. And that comes from like just me being so successful and then not even understanding that like once you're the business, you cannot run your business like an employee, right? But nobody told me that. And there's no book that says how not to be an employee as a business owner, right? Like that manual doesn't exist. It should, but it doesn't. So needless to say, I had clients, but I just did a lot of really dumb things. Like I would have meetings and when people would not follow, like I wouldn't follow up. So I would get the lead and then wouldn't follow up, right? And then I would block them on social media if I didn't hear back from them. Okay, it was wild. So then I started this business. I got really intentional about understanding where I can lend the most value. So the first step for me was figuring out, first of all, do I want to coach? Do I want to just consult? Do I want to coach and consult? And then who do I want to help? So the first step for me is always building a profile around what I enjoy. I really enjoy working with people who are mid-career or higher. because they need to be decision makers. I need them to be decisive because I want you to take a risk. You have to be willing to take a risk. And you're much more willing to take a risk when you have the confidence that really only wisdom and experience can bring to work with me. And I am very direct and straightforward. So I try to work with people who are like mid-level management or higher, just because, again, they understand the need to get things done. And my personality is very laser focused. So step one is I literally go through to decide, can this be someone I can work with? Can I impact them positively? And my experience has been when I work with like 21 and 22-year-olds, which I will, it just doesn't lend the same impact. And so the work is very rewarding for them, but it's also a lot of jockeying back and forth with me trying to get them to understand that, like, yes, you have 10 times more energy than I'll ever want to have, but you don't have the acumen. And I'm trying to lend my acumen and leverage it against your experience and your energy, but that doesn't always work. So step one is I try to identify people who have been in business for at least 5 years, or they've been a professional for at least 10 years, because that's just a different personality type, and we tend to blend well. Step two is when I start to look for clientele, I try to at least understand that they've had some success, either personally or in the business, because my services are an investment. And so I do offer payment plans, but I understand that my payment plan is, it's closer to a mortgage than a car note. So I try to really understand like where they are to make sure that, it's an investment for them and not a risky investment. Because again, what I've noticed over time is that if they're spending all their extra money on my services, we're not going to get to where we need to be, because the business still needs investment too. So step two is me identifying, like, personally and professionally, can they afford the service? And then lastly, I only deal with service-based businesses, but I've gotten really specific with those service-based businesses. So they're densely in nonprofits, education. A number of my clients are principals and like that level of professional. Some of them are also like executive directors of social service firms. They are C-suite executives. And so it's a large population of folks, but it's really not. And I just go through and I create profiles. So unlike a lot of folks who just cast a wide net and then just hope people come in, I've gotten really intentional about how I seek out clients. And even though like I maybe only reach out to 50 people a month, right? I make literally 10 times more now than I did when I was reaching out to like 1,000 to 2,000 people. So
absolutely.
That was a very long-winded answer. I'm sorry.
No, that was good.
But do I fit? So I'm a knowledgepreneur, right? Like, so selling those training, is that the type of fit also? You're saying education, or specifically education in the...
So no, yes.
Because that knowledgepreneur is like a wide open.
It is. So most of my clients are right now. So for example, my clients that I'm onboarding this month, a lot of them want to learn about how to create digital courses, right? Mm-hmm. So two of my clients, two of them are best-selling authors who are looking to take their books and turn them into courses. One of them is STEM-based and is geared towards child personal development. And the other one is women's empowerment, right? Mm-hmm. She has a really profound story. Her book has landed her on morning talk shows across the country. And so now she's just looking to expand her reach, right? Because one course can be $2,000. You're not going to sell a $2,000 book, right? Right. If you happen to sell a $2,000 book, that's an anomaly. That's not some revenue stream you can depend on, right? Right. And what it takes to write a book versus creating a course, no offense to anybody, but don't write the book, make the course. Like it takes you like a weekend to do a course. It takes you months and months and months to write a book. But mostly my necessity and my passion and my drive is to help people start businesses using what they know. So you come to me, I'm not asking you to go back to school. I'm not asking you to take another course. I'm not asking you to build some sort of new technical acumen or to drive you into a different direction. I'm saying, hey, today, where you are, meet me here and we can make money. And so when I say it's knowledge-based, it really is your skill set that you have right now. You work in accounting at a large accounting firm, let's start your own accounting business, right? Or let's start a budgeting service. Let's do something with what you already have, because I firmly believe that like the millions that you crave, If you crave them, like something placed it on your spirit to get that millions, you have it. You just need to go get it.
I like
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah.
She's full of fire. She's always full of fire.
Maria,
I
do
love
you
hearing
have
her talk.
do you have it on you to go get your millions?
Oh yeah. I've got, yeah, we're going to get it. Jeff, you
Yep.
had a question?
Well, sure. Take us through kind of the process once you connect with the right type of client. Like what can one expect when working with you?
Oh, okay. So I love this part. My clients always say it's like therapy, which that is not my intention, but my process is really unorthodox. So I don't coach based on like one format. So when you come to me, initially our first conversation prior to coaching is 2 hours, and we sit down and I ask you things like, well, what do you want to do? Who do you want to work with? Why did you choose this work? What's the most impact you think you can make, right? I don't ask you how much did you make. I don't ask you who did you make money on. I literally come to you to try to figure out like where you planted so we can grow from there. And through that process, the first month is all about like organizing. So we figure out this is where you are. So what you have is like a book, right? So we spend about a month working through what part of the book we can use, or what other knowledge you wanted to use that maybe you didn't, what works for you really well, what don't you want to do? Because a lot of times with the people I work with, they've been who they are for a long time. And most of my clients, quite frankly, have been professionals for at least 20 years. And so they know what they know really well, and it's like robotic. And so that's great in that they're able to do things really well, but it's terrible because they can't always articulate what they do. So the first month is literally organizing. We don't do any sort of like surveys or anything like that. It's a lot of one-on-one. And based on where they are developmentally, I assign them projects. So a good example of what I do to get people out of their own head is I make them write stories. So you want to change this, like give me a story, give me your success story, and be detailed, right? Because if you're a service-based professional and you work with clients, give me your dream client, give them a name, an address, where are they from, what do they do, what are their likes, what are their dislikes, how are they introduced to your product, what do they like, what do you think that maybe is something they can grow on? And what that does, instead of me giving you this very Google form like examination, it gets you to pull and dream, right? Because it takes the pressure off of having to examine yourself, and it just allows you to forecast. And so from those stories that they create in that first month, I take out details, so adjectives that come up over and over again, or themes, or very specific like descriptions of what you do. And then month 2, we develop, right? And so for some people, that's developing a curriculum, right? And I know it sounds crazy, but like in a 2 or 3 page story, we end up being able to develop very specific parts of your curriculum, or your pillars, or your digital course. Or for some people, it will be they're like want to start being professors. So it's like helping them leverage what they know to figure out, I'm a science person. Okay, well, you're an engineer. What kind of engineering do you want to teach? Right? Like it allows you to understand that maybe you thought you like high school kids, but really you want to do junior college. Like you want to do like a different segment of the population. And then from there, month 3, we start to market. So we spend an entire month after we've organized, we developed, we market. So that entire month, all we're doing is reaching out to those folks. We are getting people in the door. We're having conversations. If you're doing like sales calls, I'm sitting on the calls. We're having conversations about what went well, what could have been done differently. And I'm teaching you how to pitch and pivot all the time. Like you need to find the people, because you can't say you want to sell and you can't find those folks. It's 2021. There's no excuse. There's no excuse that if you think you want to work with black-haired men who live in Florida, you can find them. Like, don't tell me you can't find them. If that's who you say you want to work with, we need to be able to get them, and we need to be in constant contact with those folks. And we know in month 1 from your story who you really want to work with. We start to like softly have conversations on your social media. Your email, I have them reach out to like former colleagues who may be able to be impactful. And we start to build a community inside of your business, but then inside of your life, so that it all starts to blend together. So that by month 3, people are not shocked that you're starting to sell something. They aren't shocked that you have this new piece of your life that you're starting to share with folks. And it literally is tailored to what your needs are. But in general, my clients are 3 months. I have a few that won't let me go. But in general, the big work is done in month 1, 2, and 3. Sometimes people want to do something different. Sometimes they want more, but my coaching model is built on 3 months because, again, they're busy. And then also it just takes time. And so if you want to make money, it takes time to make money. So I take that pressure off of 6 weeks, 4 weeks, 30 days. Like, I used to work in finance. I can tell you, people are lying on the internet every day. They're lying every day. It is statistically impossible for these people to have this amount of 6-figure launches, 5-figure launches, and it's statistically impossible to have this many millionaires. And so somebody lying, right? Like, can you eventually be a millionaire? Absolutely. Are this many people who advertise to me on Facebook becoming millionaires? I worked in finance for a very long time. It's just not.
I see a lot of people saying they've made $1 million sales, and it's like accumulated over 3 and 4 years. It's not.
That's what I was going to say.
I'm not a millionaire, or I haven't made $1 million in a year. Like they're just saying, I sold $1 million. Well, I can sell 100,000 in 10 years too. Yeah. Right? Like,
yeah. But a lot of people don't even hit that benchmark, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And that's the truth. Like, I see a lot of times people are like, I can get you a 6-figure launch in 30 days. And it's like, if they can, right? The investment to make 6 figures in 30 days is probably at least 20 grand, right? Because you have to have, especially from scratch, you'd have to have one heck of an A1 fine-tuned marketing plan that is so on point that your Facebook is basically taking people's credit cards and cashing them out, right? Like, it has to be so good, especially from scratch. And I just don't. Again, I think it's possible. I just think that, like, buying into the whole 6-figure model is a difficult task to achieve, especially when a lot of times when you're just getting started, you work a job and then you also are looking to start a business.
I agree with what you're saying. And that's one of the issues I actually have with Clubhouse. I feel like everyone's a multi-billionaire. Everyone's extremely successful. And then there's the people who are like, just looking up to all those people, but it statistically doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And if you kind of dive into some of the claims, that was the #1 podcast for 5 minutes last December. You know what I mean? It's like, you know what I mean? So I'm with you on that. You have to kind of really be careful what these people are claiming, because the marketing spin on what might be a partial truth is it's alluring, but it's not going to happen. It
just makes me skeptical. It's not alluring to me. It automatically makes me go,
Right.
That's how you guys.
You guys are skeptical because I'm definitely the #1 Alphorn player in Ohio.
Can I tell you guys a funny Clubhouse story?
Yes.
Sure. Yes.
So I've gotten clients off of Clubhouse. I actually did a live a couple of weeks ago about how much money I've made from Clubhouse. But by all means, like, Clubhouse is the money. Okay. Like, people on there are ready to have a change in their life. And because it's so new and exclusive, they're not being oversaturated with marketing. And a lot of times they're just looking for resources. So great way to get clients. But I sat in a room and I listened to this woman, and she was saying something like, there's 20,000 comments on her group every day. And like something like she has 50,000 members. It was like astronomical. I was like, oh my God. She said she built it in 9 months. I was like, oh. So then she said the name of her group, and I won't say that because, like, that's her ministry, not my business. So I was like, oh my God, like, let me follow her. Like, I'll work with her. Like, if this is like really the magnanimous amount of impact that she's making, then by all means, I want the impact too. And I was like doing the math in my head. I was like, how many minutes are there in a day? And then I was like, that's not possible, because her group physically would like fall over on itself. Like, if it was that many comments, it literally, nothing would get done. Right. I was like, okay, I exaggerate. Maybe she means like 2,000 comments a day. Still super aggressive, right? It's 60 minutes in an hour. But all right, okay, whatever. People are chatty, which is good. And I was like, I get on her. So then I go to the group, and the group has like, I don't know, like 4,000 members. And
it's a big group.
Yeah, it is. So it was like 4,000 members, but then Facebook will not let you lie on it. It had like less than 10 comments a week. And I was like, I know that I was not a math major, but 10 a week is not the same as 20,000 a day. And I was just like, and I was so strange about how she was like floating people to our Facebook. And during the Facebook, the Clubhouse, she was like, I got another sale. I got another sale. And I was just like, okay. Like this feels very inauthentic, right? Because she could just be intelligent enough to be a value add to your business, but the lying, because this is an outright lie. Like 10 comments, Facebook will tell you how many posts there are. And once it stretches out to a week, it's literally because nobody's saying anything. And I was, it's that, but it's so much of that all the time. It's hard to even know as a professional how you can even align with someone and do business with them, because it's so much lying that like, and I shoot straight from the hip. Maybe I shouldn't say lie. It's so much optimism about people's sales.
I don't know. That sounds like a lie.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like an alternate universe, but it happens all the time.
We have a conversation in our house because I have a young teenager. The difference between exaggeration and hyperbole, right? Like that's big deal hyperbole right there. Yeah. Not exaggeration. I'm okay with a little stretch.
Well,
that's sales, right?
I think the issue is when a lot of people, and look, don't get me wrong, I like Clubhouse. I don't understand how people are spending 15, 18 hours on it and still claiming to make do. But that aside, I think it's also a little misleading because I think certain people were given club status and, all of a sudden some people have tens of thousands of followers. And, it's an interesting, I'm not exactly sure what's underneath, which is why it's like, I'm a little skeptical because it's hard to always know because people don't tell you the whole story. Oh, my client was doing amazing on TikTok or whatever. And it's like, oh, well, you forgot to mention your client was gorgeous and used to be on TV. You know what I mean? Yeah. So what about people that look like me? You know what I mean? Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, so it's like, it's like little things like that. Like there's also omission. There's details that are omitted that are very important to the story that, that get omitted. Sorry, but we're just talking about Clubhouse. We should be talking about you.
No. We should be talking about Clubhouse because one of the things that I'm like a champion on is like transparency and honesty. So like, this is very on brand when I talk to my clients about like, first of all, not providing smoke and mirrors and like making sure that you're working with informed consumers. This is exactly the conversation I have all the time. Like, you want to work with me. I can tell you, I have raised over $10 million. I can tell you that in 2019, 11 out of 12 months, I sold more than $1 million in investments, right? But the thing about that I also should tell you is that I was on an amazing team. I was trained by some of the best in the country. I worked at one of the largest financial institutions in the world, right? Like, and there's like so many other variables that are not really variables. They're fixed, right? So like I was in the right circumstances to have that success. I'm also excellent at what I do, but the other factors matter, right? Like and all the time, like I try to get my clients out of saying things about like how much money they can make for people, how many clients they can help people get. Cause like they're qualifiers that like you really cannot guarantee for people. Exactly. So as we like, for me, right? Like perfect example, I do service-based people. And so they always want to do like 20 or 50 or 100 new clients in 30 days. And so my thing is always like, yeah, you heard that on Clubhouse, but like, what's your bandwidth? Like, let's start from the very basics. How much time in a day can you commit to your business? Step one, right? Step two, 100 is, what is 100 clients to you? Because if you sell t-shirts, 100 clients is literally just a passive thing that happens without you, unless you're packing t-shirts, right? Mm-hmm. But if you are doing services and you have 100 clients in a month, you are going to crash fast. Your business is going to get blackballed, and you will just be very disappointed that you spent all this time selling to people and taking on clients that you cannot service properly. Your quality suffers, your energy just gets bogged down, and then you're left with a failed business model, and that's discouraging. It creates depression, it creates anxiety, right? Like step one, don't promise things you cannot deliver. I will never sit and tell a client, I can guarantee you that you'll make money. I never say that. I tell you, I've made money. I've worked at some of the largest financial institutions in the world. I have served as an executive and a director, a finance director at, political parties. So I'm telling you what I know works. Who sells themselves better than a politician? You got it. Nobody, right? I have helped people, and I've won 3 political elections. I've never lost an election. I've raised millions of dollars at the political party level. So not on my campaigns, at the party level. I have been the big fish in the ocean, right? Like I've done it. So if it doesn't work, we'll just keep doing it until we figure out what works. Like I believe in longevity. I can tell you, I tell people out the gate when I'm going through myself, my first business failed. It failed because of ego, right? Like I'm going to help you take the ego out of it, which is why month 1, we organize. Because if you don't get out of your own way, you'll be just like me, beautiful, intelligent, and unemployed. Because I did not do the things that needed to be done. And I fell into that, like, people are always trying to sell you wealth, right? So that's the whole $100,000, $10,000 in 10 days, all the ways they try to sell you wealth. And as someone who has had to help people figure out how to grow wealth, the conversations about wealth are over 30 years. When do you plan to retire? 20 years, 15 years? Anybody who is worth their salt, who considers themselves an investment, does not talk to you about how they can make you money in 30 days. I tell you flat out, you'll make money. You will. I promise you. Like, I know you will. We'll get this going, and I'll stay with you until you turn a profit. It almost always happens in the first 3 months. If it doesn't, don't worry about it. We'll tweak until we get it right. Period. We'll price it right. We'll do the market research. We'll do all the things that make it necessary to have a profit today and then a year from now, because it's all about foundation. But I guess for me, as I'm working with business owners, and one of the things I've noticed with talking to people, everybody wants to be sold wealth. And people have asked me, well, how much can I expect to make? Yeah. I can't answer that for you, because I can't say that, like, what you want to sell is going to be valuable to people in 5 years, right? I can't tell you that, like, you will be well received by this audience over time. I have not read all your old tweets. You might get popular and then end up getting blown out the water because maybe you said something you shouldn't have said on Twitter a few years ago, right? Like, I cannot account for all the variables that exist outside of me, but I can certainly do my part. And so as someone who does business coaching, I'm the opposite of most folks, because I never, ever talk to you about that kind of thing, because I just think it's irresponsible. Right?
No, I agree.
Yeah. You're awesome. I want to sign up.
It's just like, where do I sign? Where do I sign? I do have a question. So I know we've had chats, apart from this. So I know that we think a lot alike on a lot of things. And one of the things that I know I have found when I'm talking to clients is I do get the same questions, like, well, how much can I make? And that's a deal breaker. If we can't come to, an agreement on that's not the goal, is, how much you're going to make, because I can't promise you that there's no guarantee. I have a hard, fast rule that I send them on packing. Is that a deal breaker for you as well? Or do you have, complete deal breakers that arise as far as, when you're onboarding a potential client?
Oh yeah. If they tell me it's expensive, when they ask me how much it costs, they tell me it's expensive, that's a deal breaker. Yeah. If I tell them, like, what I provide, because the same way I told you, it's a 3-step process. Month 1 is organized, month 2 is developed, month 3 is market, right? They start to ask me things like, well, what else do I get? And I'm always like, well, what would you like? Like, there's a Facebook group. I am developing a group model that I'm going to roll out here next month. What are you looking to gain? And if people can't say anything past money, I can't help you, because I'm not the mint. I don't make money. Like, yeah. I help you provide impact. And if you can't understand that, I totally respect chasing money, but, like, that's a fool's prophecy. If you chase money, you will spend your entire life broke. Again, I told y'all my first business failed. Like, I'm trying to save you from that, like, that mindset. So step 1 is people tell me I'm too expensive, or they want to negotiate me past my price, or they want a discount. And they want discounts for things that, like, are not business related. So I'm trying to think of an example. Like, sometimes, like, people are like, oh, well, I have For example, I had a woman who wanted to work with me. And so I told her, I was like, for what you want to do, typically my payment plan is ideally 2 payments, right? I realize that even Nordstrom lets you do 4 payments, right? You get the afterpay. So I like Nordstrom. So I can be online with Nordstrom since Nordstrom is still high quality. So I don't stretch it past 4 months, right? But sometimes people will be like, well, I have this happening. My mom, my sister, my brother, my cousin, my niece, my child. So I need it to be like over the course of a year. And I always say, save it up. Come talk to me in a year. Will you hold the price? No. So just expect like a 20% increase. So then save it up and then come back next year and we can work together, right? Because the reality is that like, if you're bargaining with me and we haven't even like come to agreement to work together, the truth is you'll never see my value. And I can't afford to risk all of the work that I've done and I plan to do for like one person. Because it's not enough money for me to leverage like this one client that I may miss out on when I already have so many other clients in the pipeline and there are still thousands of people I could potentially help. So that's always a deal breaker for me. And then the other one is just like, I'm an energy person. And so I'm hyper. I'm not going to know this. Like, I'm very high energy. And so if you're like,
I didn't notice.
And if you're just super low frequency,
Jeff
you don't work with me. I'm overwhelming.
Jeff's low frequency right there.
Yeah, I know that, right? Because I'm like, let's get this done. Let's do this and there. And if you're like, that's not your vibe, and I know it because I'm me all the time. So I don't change. I'm this frequency at work. I'm this frequency at home. I am just this way all the time. And I like that about myself. I like being high energy. I feel joy and I feel happy every day. And so I'm very demonstrative of that joy through my energy. And if that is not appealing to you, I can usually tell. I've refused people who are like ready for the invoice. Like we've been in a sales meeting and they're like, when can we pay? And it's like, I don't think I'd be a good fit for you. And they'll ask why. And I'll just say, because I'm up here with energy and you're lulling. And I'm like, woo, like, let's have a big fun party. Like, I just think that you would just be so stressed out and annoyed with me. And I'm grown. So I know who my people are. Right. And so man, woman, child, I know who I vibe with. And I just don't spend a lot of time trying to convince myself or other people that I'm a good fit when I'm not. So those are like the two. So energy and then trying to tell me that you don't want to pay my price.
That's good.
I feel like the other thing that's to your point, like you don't want to pay the price, is that if you have other things going on in life, then you also don't have the time to commit to it at the moment.
Yeah.
It's not just price, but it's also that time.
Yeah.
If you're going to spend the money to learn from you, then don't you have to put the time into it as well?
Absolutely.
As the client? Yeah.
But then, like, again, just seeing my value. And if you don't want to pay, that's okay. Pay somebody else. You'll be back. Like, it's true, because I've had people tell me that I cost too much money, and then they come back 6 months later after they've gotten their 176,000 free seminar, their 1,000th free one-pager ebook, and then they're like, I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. Like, but then even still, I'm open to it, right? Because people evolve, I evolve. We'll have that same conversation again. And then it's still like, the price is the price. And I'll ask, like, so why did you come back? Because if you talk to me, my model doesn't really change. Like, I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. Like, I've been doing this long enough that like, I know what works really well for my business and my clients. And so nothing about me fundamentally has changed. I evolve. My prices go up. I do believe my services get better. I think that the way I am able to deliver my services has improved. But essentially it's still organize, develop, market. Like, that's just kind of it. It's a 3-step process. So why are you back? And I ask. And so sometimes people are humble and they say like, oh, I thought I could do it on my own. I couldn't. Okay. I've done that before too. Sometimes people are just curious again, but even before I have that first meeting, I just say, hey, I just want to follow up, make sure like, you think I'm a good fit now. I think that's great. I send them my deck that says, this is what I'm offering right now. Let me know which service you're interested in. And then if they can't even do that, I don't set the meeting because I experience no lack. So if you can't take 15 minutes to look at a deck that I created, on Canva and tell me what you want to work with me with, I'm all right.
Right. Yep.
So what are you saying? No, it's okay.
Yeah, your message is really
Get-
quite unclear now.
Get to the point. Get to the point. Stop.
Jeff.
So, well, I have a question, and you don't have to. You don't have to say specifics, but like, what would you consider one of your biggest wins or accomplishments for one of your clients? It can be percentages and stuff like that. You don't have to, like, they went from nothing to blah, or they, that kind of thing, or whatever use cases you can share. It'd be interesting.
So I have a couple. One of my clients had been in business for, I'm doing the math in my head. I told you I wasn't a math major. Let's just say a decade, because that sounds right. Might be a little less, might be a little more. It had never cracked making six figures. Had done really well, gotten pretty close, but just never was able to meet the mark. And so we just came together and figured out, like, step one was, to organize. I was like, you offer so many services. I would never buy anything from this page. I was like, I don't know how you make any money. I was like, and your margin of like how much you spend to how much you make is wild. Like, it should not be this close. And so immediately I was like, you need to combine some of these things, eliminate some of these things. I'm like, let's get it down to like, this was like going to, have you ever been to Cheesecake Factory?
Oh, yeah. Menu overload. I get it.
I was like, I don't even know what any of this is. I was like, do people feel like confident when they buy from you? Like, I don't even know what any of this is. I'm so overwhelmed. And she knows this. We have this conversation all the time. We laugh about it now. And so we literally went from what felt like 400 offerings to about 8. And the 8 were really 3 and then like a couple of add-ons. And so she went from having like 80s to 90s a year to when we started working together, the same when we worked together, she crossed the 6-figure mark and making like close to 200. And then like now, the last time we talked, which was like the end of the year, I try to check in at least once a year. She was close to $500,000, but that was like after 5 years. So please don't think it's going to happen to you overnight. But a lot of that was like evolution. And the last time I talked to her, it was like, so you getting those services down? Like, you still offer so many. Like, how are you a great practitioner when you just offer so many different things? But she has such a unique skill set, and her service base is so rich, but nobody really does it the way she does it. So she's just in a unique position to kind of ask for what she wants. And she started off as just doing mostly digital stuff to she's been around the country doing speaking engagements at universities. She sometime last year was supposed to go to Europe. Obviously nobody went anywhere. But she was able to do some virtual panel style stuff over in Europe. And so she's just been doing really great. She's expanded her brand. And I think I'm the most proud of her, not because of how much money she made, but because she so willingly got out of her own way. And so when I met her, I wasn't sure I even wanted to be a coach. I just have a business mind. And so I was just like, this is not sustainable. Like, I don't know how you do this all day. Like, and I told her, I was like, I would never buy anything from this website. Like, I'm just overwhelmed. I was like, I'm just one of those people. I'll pay, $100 for a pair of jeans when it's 3 pair versus going to a store that has 50 pairs trying to find one that's $10. Like, that's not, and I'm your ideal client. So you need to receive the fact that I'm willing to pay the premium. I'm never willing to have to do the work to pay the premium. And so I'm the most proud of her just because she's got out of her own way and she continues to evolve and build on her brilliance all the time. And then I have another client who, during the recession, okay, this is my favorite because I built my business up real good during the recession. So this is my favorite one. So last year, at the beginning of the year, she had been coming to me, harassing me about wanting to work together and would never pull the trigger. And so we had a conversation in November 2019. I was like, don't ever call me again until you're ready to work together. I'm not giving you any more free advice. And I'm tired of you pretending like you want to work with me. So don't call me again unless you're ready to work together. I'm good. Like, this is stressing me out. So, and I meant it. Like, I shoot straight from the hip. I'm done. Like, I cannot do this. You're driving me crazy. So she came to me in February, pre-pandemic. Well, I guess pre-pandemic. Pre-pandemic, I was like, hey, we want to hire you. We're ready to work. I was like, all right. Why? And again, I was like, are you sure? Because I don't have time for the shenanigans. And so we sat down and, I met with her and her board and we had a conversation about what they needed, how they wanted to receive it. And I was like, yeah, I don't think y'all ready. So I said no. And so then pandemic hits in March. And she comes back again. She's like, no, like, we really need you. Like, I really think that, like, you would provide maximum value. So she gets the board together again and we're meeting. And I'm just not convinced because I was like, you know, this is how I work. This, like, I need space to create and you cannot stand over me. You cannot tell me what to do. We are a team, right? Like, I can be coached too. I'm very coachable, but I can't exist in an environment where you just want me to fit into this model. Like, if that's what you're looking for, you need something different. It's just not me. I think it exists. I think most people would love to make this amount of money and just only do what they're told. I don't work like that. So now we're like full in pandemic, and she reaches back out a second time and was like, hey, like, we're really ready, like, invoice us. I was like, I'll do it for a month and see where it goes. So month one, they had not, this is a nonprofit, they hadn't raised any money. So we worked together. They had the foundation. And they just had absolutely awful business practices. And when I say awful, I mean like embarrassingly, offensively awful. Like they would like have meetings about fundraising and then they wouldn't talk about fundraising. I would be so pissed off if I have money and I want to give you my money and you have the audacity to not ask me for it. Like, why would you bring me here for this? And so it happens so much. So that first month, we crossed the $50,000 mark. Right. And I was like, you have to actually ask the people for the money to get the money. And then by the end of last year, they had raised in hand, like 300,000. And by the time we were done, they have about something like 5 million in endowments for the next 5 years. And there's a lot of different variables for fundraising and how that goes. And I'll spare you the details, but I'm proud of that because they are an example of people who would just waste your time. Like for over a year, they would call me and ask me questions and get me on the phone. And if you are a business owner, set boundaries and stick to them. Because I was so tired of feeling like I had to prove myself to make money as an entrepreneur when I had already proven myself and made money. And 2019 was the year I got serious about my value and stopped letting people waste my time. So if anybody's watching this, please stop letting people waste your time. Please. You'll make so much more money when you make people appreciate your time and your boundaries. And so to see them go from basically raising no money, so I think it was like 300,000 in hand, that's the money in the bank, and then be on track to raise $5 million based on like endowments and asking for money from corporations. And a lot of times they want to give it to you over 5 years instead of one lump sum, helping them go from having basically no board. We'll get there. I know I said I met with the board, but it was like the family. It's a whole different problem. So to watch them develop their board, redesign their programming, change their website, have them, because I would say, well, what do you do in your organization? And I would get all these answers. And I was like, I would never let you ever near my child. I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, I'm a parent. I'm busy. Tell me what the heck you're going to do with my child. When do you do it? How long are you going to be doing it? Like, how long I want to be sitting in the car outside your building, fam? Like, tell me what I need to know. What time of year is it? What do they need to wear? Like, I'm a parent. I'm busy. I don't actually care about your resume. That's not why. No, tell me. This is my kid. This is the thing that I did. This is the only thing I can say I've done well in my life is raise my child. So you need to tell me what you're going to do with my child. And I was like, I would never let you near my kid. Remember, I shoot straight from the hip. And so now they say exactly what they do, the type of education and services they provide for the kids, where those children live, how often they're in the program, what happens when they graduate out of the program, like, and all these other things. And so it went from this really great idea with an awful concept and terrible business practices, so that now it's a nonprofit, but they actually offer products that they sell. So they are a nonprofit that generates revenue. Because guess what? The NFL is a nonprofit that generates revenue. So why can't your nonprofit generate revenue? I think like those two are the most, the ones that make me the most proud because they challenged me the most as a person and as a practitioner, but they also provided the most value for me because I had to stretch myself in ways I never had before. And I do like, and maybe you guys have experienced this too as an entrepreneur. You kind of work by yourself, right? So you toot your own horn, you beat yourself up. It's a cycle, right?
Yeah.
So you don't really know if you know what you're talking about until you have to talk to other people. And it's a pandemic, so you have a lot of conversations with yourself. It's a wonderful conversation every day. But to then go to this group of strangers and have to articulate my value and then having to prove myself over and over and over again through skepticism and like basically making them create a whole new culture because I said so, was incredibly rewarding for me. And so it was great for them too, but it was also really good for me because in the pandemic, I had the audacity to formalize my business because I've been a consultant. I wasn't a business until July. And so I had the audacity to start a business in the middle of the pandemic. I had the audacity to think I was supposed to make money and get clients. And then I had the audacity to decide that I want to make more money. So level up and, build my brand out. So now I have two entirely different arms of my business. I now have employees on both sides of my business, right? In the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of a recession, in the middle of all the things that are happening in this world every day, I am not let up. And so I'm thankful for having clients that are also really wonderful and willing to pay me. But to have a client that has basically just enough money to pay me, right? Because that's a lot of pressure because they have this service that they offer, but then like any extra money went to paying me every month. I'm like, do I offer a discount? Do I ask them to pay me at the end when they start raising money? Like, where am I as a professional? And then just having to like double down and be like, no, take your own advice. No, like you're perfectly capable of helping them raise money. You're perfectly capable of sharing your gift to get them what they need. I think that was very necessary for 2020 for me as a professional. And I think I'm the most proud of the two of them the most.
That's awesome.
It's a good story.
Yeah. And I agree with the Cheesecake Factory. It's like, if there's too much, you're like, you can't do any of these well if there's so many. You only have so many chefs back there. oh, you're just as good with your chicken piccata as you are with your... I'm with you.
Yeah.
I just assumed it was all frozen.
Except for the cheesecake part, which is in the name of their... They can have as many cheesecakes as you want. It's implied they're good at that.
Yeah.
It's in the name. So I like that. It's all right. So keep the product line honed. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I get it.
So as far as kind of giving people an idea on finding clients, I know you've mentioned a couple of times about finding clients. Can you kind of touch on how you find clients and maybe some takeaways for people who are because that's a common question. I get that all the time too. Where do you find your people? Well, it depends. Who's your people, first of all?
Right.
And I'll let you kind of go ahead. Go from there.
Right. So I would say step one is figure out who you want to work with. Get real honest about that. Because a lot of times people they don't want to say I only want to work with women, or I only want to work with men, or I only want to work with like in shape people versus people who want to get in shape. So step one, have that honest conversation with yourself. Step two, when I'm looking for clients, I'm always looking for social media is pretty much where I use it. I do some advertising, but I'm not very good at it. And so until I get better, I wouldn't recommend it because I can't tell you I can't tell you how to be an informed consumer. So my clients come from Clubhouse, Instagram, and Facebook groups. People go on Facebook groups in excess every day looking for help. So it doesn't matter what kind of help you can provide. So if you are a marketing person, oh man, you should be rich because everybody's always looking for marketing. I would go into groups that are geared towards business owners or practitioners who need your services. So yes, you should be in the marketing groups, but people who are in marketing groups are looking for peer review. They aren't really looking to hire. So you should go into like women entrepreneur groups or Google ad groups or mamapreneur groups or local community groups. They have those crazy local community groups where people talk about neighbors trash, but sometimes people are on there like, hey, I own a business. I'm looking to hire somebody, right? Mm-hmm. Another great place to start on Clubhouse is Clubhouses are just like Facebook groups. So you can type in, what's a good example? Podcasters, right? There's probably a group on Clubhouse that's podcasters. It's probably 58,000 people. I guarantee you that maybe I bet my bottom dollar that 5,000 of those people actually have podcasts. Okay, so step one, go on their profile. If they don't mention the podcast, they don't have the podcast. Okay, so then the great thing about it is that they have their Instagram on there, right? So you just go and click on their Instagram, and everybody checks their DMs, right? So you just go on there, you click on their profile, and you send them a message. The message should say, hey, my name is, hey, Maria, I know that you and I are both in the Podcasters United Clubhouse group. I noticed that you're interested in a podcast. What kind of podcast do you like? Okay, so then they'll come back and be like, maybe they're strong, maybe they won't. So you say, hey, they don't respond. 2 days later, follow up on my last message. I was wondering, do you have a podcast? If not, I'd love to learn more about what I can help you do to get started with your podcast. Right. So then most of the time people will get the message and say, hey, I've been thinking about starting a podcast. I don't know where to begin. Okay. Or they'll say, I started a podcast a while back and it never really turned into anything, so I left it alone. Okay. So depending on who you are as a podcast coach, if that exists, you'll know right away. If this is somebody who failed once, is that your ideal client, right? Somebody who's looking for growth, or you're looking for somebody who's looking to build. That's up to you. You need to figure that out though, because those are two different people. And you can't help everybody. So then you say, oh, okay, cool. Well, if you have some time this week, I'd love to talk to you and see how I can be helpful. You get them on the calendar, right? Then you get them on the horn. And then you get very specific. Hey, I've been a podcast coach for the last 6 years. I have a podcast myself, has over 1 million downloads in 20 countries. I love to share with you how I was able to do that, basically by myself as a part-time thing in between feeding kids and traveling. This is what I do full time. I love to see you be successful. When I saw your profile on Clubhouse, I noticed that you're from the Midwest. I'm from the Midwest. We have a lot in common, and I think you're someone who I can help. And it's just that simple. People love to know that you care enough about them to learn about them. And so just like following it through, and that's how I get clients. It's literally like threading the needle, right? Like all the time. Clubhouse is a great way to do that. On Instagram, you can look at hashtags. Facebook groups is a great place to be. And I always recommend on Facebook groups a week before you start sliding in people's DMs. So before you start talking to folks, spend a week just answering questions. Give away. I make money on 10% of the information I give away. 10%. 90% of the information I give away, I'll never see that back. I've had like 1 hour meetings with folks, and then they go and adapt my advice and make money and never hire me. Okay. I still got it. Like I know when I said it worked. But it's just a matter of you being very clear about what you offer. And in the messaging, you need to always make sure you're reinforcing what you offer. So again, like I said, you say, hey, have you started your podcast yet? And then they'll tell you yes or no and where they are in the journey. And if that's not a good fit for you, don't be money hungry. Just appreciate their time and move on.
Absolutely. And I think that's a hard lesson for younger entrepreneurs. And I'm not talking about just age of the person, I'm talking about age of the business. Right. Because, that just the idea, we've talked about this, Chanel, just that, all money is not good money. And that is a hard lesson, especially at the beginning when you need the money, at the beginning, you're like, just pay me, but it's a good idea to go ahead. You mentioned earlier about boundaries. Setting those boundaries is so important, because if you start that process of taking the money, that's not the good money, that's not your ideal client, it starts this bad habit, and then it's really hard to stop that. Yeah.
There's nothing worse than money from a bad client. You'll hate going to work every day. It's the worst.
Absolutely. I've been there.
Yeah. It's just like working a job you don't like, right? So
I took money from Maria once. Biggest mistake.
Yeah. They would have. It was
I was like, what was I thinking?
It's hard. I think being an entrepreneur is like one of those things. I tell people, don't quit your job and start a business. Start the business before you quit your job. Figure out how to make money. And that's the biggest thing. If I can lend no other advice is, if you don't know how to make money, do not quit your job. Because I'm so, and I see it all the time. I know I probably sound cranky to you guys, but nothing concerns me more than when people suggest people quit their job to start a business. how's the business going to make any money? Everything I do costs money. Everything I do costs money. And free resources, this is a safe space. Free resources often don't get you as far as you need them to go. They just don't. And so, go ahead.
They're not organized. There's no framework. How do you apply them? And even if they're good tools, if they're not working in a way that focuses, then you're just like splatter.
Yeah.
No one needs to splatter all over the place.
It's a spray and pray method. Most, it's spray and pray.
Yeah.
That's successfully chaotic, right?
It is. Well, I named it that for a reason, because I did what she just said, don't do, quit your job. And you're like, oh my God. And then that's how you end up with the bad clients. Because at that point you just need to pay the bills. You're like, okay, I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. I can do that. And then by the time you have all these clients you don't want. And it is easier. I don't know. Some people don't get that luxury. And there's some people that end up starting their business because they lose a job or whatever. But I'm sure, Chanel's saying that, if you have the option to make the choice, the better choice is going to be lay your foundation first. And I 1000% agree.
Yeah. And here's a free secret. Guess what? If you hate your job and you start your business, you'll hate your job less. I swear. I did it. I swear. I promise. Like you can quote me. If you decide you're going to start a business and you hate your job, that angry boss, that smelly coworker, that loud noise that's coming out of the bathroom, it gets softer. Because your brain has something else to do. Like you literally are like creating a new source of joy. And so you only have so much energy in a day. And so the amount of energy you spend being miserable goes down, and you'll start to find joy in your life, habitually, because you have something else to do. So again, I'm not saying that you should stay in an abusive, miserable situation if you're being harmed or anything like that. I'm just saying 80% of people cannot afford to quit their job. And I think it's in poor taste to just suggest step one is quit your job. I think that you can sustain it. I believe in you. I don't even know you. I think you can do it. I think you can save some money and make some money so that you at least have a little bit of a cushion to then pivot out of your job. That's all I'm saying. If you need to quit. Listen, but you can't live here. So, so I'm not going to tell you to quit your job. That's all I'm saying.
No, I feel that. So can you give a couple of just takeaways before you introduce where people can find you? Just if somebody's out there and they have a business and they're all over the place, just a few, 1, 2, 3, one, I don't even care, takeaways on something they can do today to kind of get going in the right path. And if they feel that they're a fit for you, you've already named a few people that are not, but if they feel they are a good fit for you, where they can kind of reach out to find out more information.
If I can give 3 important pieces of advice. Step 1, only work with people you want to work with. Take your time, because that's going to really impact your ability to be successful. If you don't like the work you do, you won't do it well. Step 2, sell. Always be in a position to sell. Sell everything. I know you want to make $1 million, but if you have to sell $5 workbooks, sell $5 workbooks. You need to consciously always be front of mind on how I make money, because businesses don't have feelings. Businesses don't get sick. They need to make money. Your business needs to make money. So figure out who you want to work with, because it's easier to make money. And I would say step 3, if you are not organized, get really organized, because money is an energy thing. And so if you are all over the place, money cannot be attracted to you because you are not in a position to receive it. So an organization has to be fixing your time during the day. And I'm not saying be one of those people who color codes their calendar or anything like that. I'm saying get organized and set a list of what you're going to do every day and kill it. Because being organized, organization and energy is going to impact your business the most. And I would say, those are the 3 things. And if you're scared, do it anyway. You're going to fail. Most of the things you're going to do are not going to work. Let me help you. Most of the things you're going to do are just not going to work. But eventually you'll get so good at being okay with failure that failure is not a risk. It's a reality. You will fail. Most of the things you will do will fail. Be okay with it. I don't care. I launched something that never went anywhere. I don't care. I launched 3 more things. I'm making money. Whatever. Failure is literally not that interesting. You just learn from it. And I think those are the biggest advice. Be scared and do it anyway. Be ugly and do it anyway. Be fat and do it anyway. Be short and do it anyway. Be ugly, whatever. Anything you think that's negative about yourself, it's okay. Do it anyway. It doesn't matter.
Stop calling me ugly.
Jeff.
When people say such mean things about themselves, I don't want to go on live. I'm ugly. Okay, you're not ugly. Just get on live. If people are looking for me, the easiest way to find me is I am Chanel Rose, Chanel like the designer, Rose like the flower. And I am on Facebook. You can always friend me. I accept most friend requests. I'm on Instagram at The Ticket to Freedom. Those are the best ways to find me. I'm also on LinkedIn. Not as active on LinkedIn as I should be, but I'm Chanel Rose everywhere. Those are the best places to find me. I'm always willing to answer questions for folks. So if you can't afford me, that's fine. I'll still answer your questions. I don't care. I'll talk to anybody. No one's a stranger. So if you want to reach out, please do. I love talking strategy. It's my favorite thing to do. So I'm here. I'm happy to help. I make money. I'm not concerned about needing to make money from anyone who wants to help me. I mean, who needs my help? I'm always happy to help.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Well, it's been amazing. You have anything else, Angela, for her or Jeff?
No, thank you. I just followed you on Instagram.
Oh, thank you.
I followed you on Clubhouse.
Hey, I'll follow you back. I've been on Clubhouse punishment because I'm on there 18 hours a day.
Oh,
I'm on there like 2 hours a day. But
I've been on there at 10 p.m. I go to bed, I wake up, the same people in the same room when I wake up at 8 in the morning. It's like,
So,
oh my God.
I know we're out of time, but I want to tell you something about Clubhouse because you said you weren't sure. So 2 things. 1, Clubhouse is a venture capitalist endeavor. So the underbelly of this is that they're able to get in rooms and have conversations about trends. And so they're leveraging our willingness to share all of our business on social media in real time against ideas that they have. There's a lot of pitching that happens behind the scenes that VCs are in on, and they're able to then like force the market. So if you're someone who's interested in learning what's next, what's new, what's hot, absolutely get on Clubhouse, stay in the tech rooms. If you are a low investment able entrepreneur, I've learned about so many free, amazing resources on Clubhouse because it's full of VCs and they're always telling you about what's free. Clubhouse, Lunch Club is another new platform where you can meet and do networking once a week. Please join Lunch Club because I've gotten a list of 10,000 leads from a guy who has a lead service. He just gave them to me and I've made money off of that list. But Clubhouse is a VC endeavor that they've created to try to figure out what folks are wanting so that they can start to invest in those things. So get in the tech rooms if you're using Clubhouse. That's another thing that I didn't mention before. Because that's where, and follow VCs on Clubhouse too. I follow them on Clubhouse and Twitter. Oh, I forgot that. That was my other thing. And then I'm going to shut up. I'm so sorry. If you're looking for people who are making money and wanting to make more money, the free advice is that they're on Twitter giving away really, really great nuggets more than they are anywhere else because they're busy. So they put a lot of value in 140 characters. I'm done. Sorry. But that was
done and out. No, I liked it. And Jeff is the Twitter man. So
yeah.
Cool.
So,
thanks for sharing all that information with us, Chanel.
Thank you.
It was really wonderful.
No, you're awesome.
Thank you. I was so nervous. I was like, I don't know. It's so many people.
Yeah, she mentioned, she's like, I didn't know it was a whole panel. I'm like, you'll be fine. It's laid back.
Yeah. We're a good panel. I like this panel. It's been fun.
We were voted coolest panel on Clubhouse 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
Oh, you have that on a trophy on one of those little plaques.
Yeah.
Yes. It's a certificate, actually. I printed it myself.
Says. Isn't that what it says behind your head?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what that one is over there. Wait.
All right.
Well, it's been great having you on. And
thank you.
We will be on again for Business Acceleration Playbook next week at 1 p.m. Tuesday, Eastern Standard Time. So thanks a lot. And
see everyone.